My next guest, as far as I'm concerned, is the king of combat sports content creation. He's got over 350,000 subscribers on YouTube, along with multiple channels, and he's one of the most prominent commentators in the boxing world these days. It is the W.A.D.E Concept, W.A.D.E Plemons, joining me here on the MMA Industry Podcast. So happy to have him on. W.A.D.E, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm super good. I appreciate that intro. That was amazing. Yeah, dude. Excited to be here. Been following you for just as long as you've been following me, man. So it's been a two-way street there. Love your content. Enjoy your interviews with fighters. So I feel honored to be on the show. I'm happy to be here, man.
Yeah, we're extremely happy to have you here. Guest number 2 on the relaunch show. First question I ask everyone on this show, and I'm going to ask you the same thing. How would you describe what it is you do to someone that's not in combat sports?
That's the question of the hour, isn't it? Dude, when people ask me what it is that I do that have no idea about YouTube or, that's my main thing, I just say I'm a combat sports commentator. I do what you see Joe Buck and Al Michaels do for football, but for boxing and other combat sports. And then I also have a YouTube channel, and then immediately people think that I'm Mr. Beast for some reason. Mm-hmm. But no, I just try to explain it in the simplest terms. I make content that I enjoy, that I hope others do as well, and bring the same energy that I would in everyday conversation to a media platform for you guys to enjoy.
How did you come up with the W.A.D.E Concept as the name? I was always curious about that.
So an ex-girlfriend of mine, and she's a good friend of mine now, but we always go back and forth on who created the name. She swears that, because I was in Orlando, Florida. I was actually training to be a pro wrestler at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, man. I was down at Team 3D gym. Shout out Devon and Bubba Dudley, or Bubba Ray, excuse me. And I was just looking at I didn't have a college degree in any sort of, media or communications or anything. And I was like, man, I really want to be in sports. I want to talk sports. And I had become a massive fan of MMA and been a boxing guy. My dad was a boxing guy when I was growing up. So I was like, I need to find a way to communicate this. And, I'd seen Joe Rogan Experience, and I'd seen some other stuff, Jim Cornette's show. And I was like, all right, well, my name's W.A.D.E. I can make that into an acronym. We are debating everything. It's kind of what I do. And then just put concept at the end, and there it was.
You mentioned your dad, obviously being a bit of an influence there. You mentioned pro wrestling. It's safe to assume pro wrestling fan growing up. That's what kind of wanted to get you to get into it.
Yeah. It kind of went hand in hand. My first experience with combat sports was the Rocky movies.
Okay.
And they would come on. I don't know if you remember. I don't know. There's probably not many people that remember Dinner and a Movie was on TBS.
Okay.
Was like a program note for TBS where you would have a movie come on, and they would do like talks about, food, whatever in between. And they would always play Rocky.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. I do remember that back in the day.
Right. Yeah. It was like an old school thing, the 90s, Right before that, on Mondays, I guess, you had Nitro. You had WCW.
Right.
So we would watch Razor Ramon, you know what I'm saying? Now it was Scott Hall and Kevin Nash running wild as the NWO, or the beginnings of it. And then we would watch Rocky. And I remember I just became a pro wrestling fan through the Monday Night Wars, and obviously all the Rocky movies, and started watching more boxing. My dad was a big Tommy the Hitman Hearns guy. So, we watched a lot of Hitman stuff. And yeah, man, I just started to fall in love a little bit then. And then obviously transitioned to other sports, but then came back to it. So.
Okay, cool. And did you have any influences in terms of broadcasting? Because obviously you have your own unique style, but did you have anyone growing up being like, I really like their style?
No, man, because there was no one doing this. I was the kid that sat in front of SportsCenter every night. Yeah. I watched SportsCenter every single night when I was a kid. I was obviously at that point. I mean, this is a Texas shirt, and I feel blasphemous for wearing it because I'm a University of Tennessee guy. Born and raised in Knoxville, Big Orange all the way, but I was a college football savant. I loved college football. I still do.
Okay.
But also pro football and basketball and baseball. I was just in front of that TV before bed almost every night watching the Scott Van Pelts, the Stuart Scotts, all of those guys, the Rich Eisens, those guys raised me essentially. And I heard their voices. I heard the Joe Bucks, I heard all those guys, and when I did, I immediately knew that was what I enjoyed doing. So I started to kind of do it myself. I would watch the games and I'd turn the volume down and start commentating the games myself. So yeah, I always had a feeling in the back of my head it was something I wanted to do.
Where did you learn how to video edit? That's another thing I wanted to ask you, because your videos,
Yeah.
and one of the things that I think separates you from a lot of other people in the combat sports industry is the video quality. It's top notch. It's one of the things that I remember, I think you and I talked early on. I always respected that about you, because a lot of people don't put a lot of effort into it, especially nowadays where it's very easy to get really high quality equipment for not that much. How did you learn how to edit and all that?
So it's funny right now, I've actually taken a back seat to editing, which it's my baby, you know, I miss it. I enjoy editing a lot, but it's a process, man. Like when I was really building my channel, through the videos that a lot of you guys, you know, fell in love with, it was all me, 6 hours sometimes in the lab, just boom, boom, working through stuff. And honestly, I learned to edit. It was such a weird process, but it was through a couple of ways. One was I started interning for the NBA Summer League.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So there's a company like not far from me. It's called Hall Pass Media. And Albert Hall is the CEO over there. And he's also one of the founders and CEOs of Summer League.
Okay.
So I took an internship, unpaid internship over there. And, you know, shout out Max Miller. I have to say his name. He's my guy. He was the head of, you know, video production for them. And he also ran video production for the Summer League. They needed someone to come down. I drove the video truck down there for them, but I was just saying yes to everything because I had no degree. I had none of that. So I was like, yes, I'll do whatever. Yes. You know, so I drive the video truck. That was kind of the deal. You drive the truck, you get to stay and work. So I'm working. It was the 2018 Summer League. Francis Ngannou was actually in attendance down there for them. Zion Williamson, which was so weird. Zion made Francis look like his little brother because it's Zion Williamson, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I actually got to shake Francis's hand. I was astounded. I thought he was the Hulk about to fucking throw me around and stuff. But no, so I'm doing basic stuff. I'm cutting highlights, you know, for Zion doing a dunk over RJ Barrett, you know, whatever. I'm cutting highlights, cutting clips, and I'm honing my craft by doing the things I'm supposed to do, but also in my mind having an idea to be like, okay, I want to do it this way. Another big part of that was I ended up working for another YouTube company right after that.
Okay.
So there was it was a video game company here in Irvine, California, and they wanted to build a YouTube channel with YouTube talent. So, you know, me being a guy that's always saying yes to stuff, I may have fibbed a little bit on the resume, but I was like, yeah, I'm this on-camera talent, and I ended up becoming their editor also while being the on-camera talent. And I started looking at just other YouTube channels and started picking little things like, okay, intros don't need to be a minute and a half. I can shorten this thing to 10 minutes. Here's where a funny cut would be, a comedy beat. You know, I started studying how comedies are cut and just little stuff like that. And Chael Sonnen, his channel was another big inspiration, watching him put long form into short form. I was like, okay, that makes sense. Let me try some of that. And it just picking little things from everywhere. Finally, I started to get my voice, and it was just repetition, honestly.
The School of Hard Knocks. I mean, watching different stuff, seeing what's out there. And there's so much content on YouTube that I really think you can pick away a little bit at everything. So not surprised to hear that. Another thing I wanted to know, did you know back when, because you were one of the first that I ever saw get into influencer boxing, did you know it was going to be as big as it was back when you started?
No, and I can't even take the credit for being the first. You know, there were guys like True Jordy. There were guys like Vidal Riley, obviously KSI, Logan Paul, Jake Paul, Keemstar even before me that had already had the YouTube side of this thing figured out. What I brought, I thought, was a little bit more of the analytical side of things that maybe you hadn't seen from people yet. And, you know, the breakdowns in detail. And so when I started doing it, I didn't know it would be what it ended up being, but I didn't know I was on to something because a lot of the people outside of those people I just named were kind of pointing the finger and laughing, right? They were like, look at these goofs. Like, they're not real fighters, boxers, whatever. And it was more, they're the joke, let's make fun versus, well, hey, listen, these guys are actually, they're not great, but they're taking it seriously. And if they're going to take it seriously, this is my thing. If they're going to take it seriously, why don't I take it seriously when I cover it? You know, everybody, it's easy to just make fun of it and point at it and say it's not real boxing. But what if you actually show someone who does look up to those people, who looks up to a KSI or a Jake Paul or a Logan Paul, and maybe wants to get into the sport, but doesn't want to say that's where they're getting their information. Maybe you can shed some light on that, and it does build some confidence. And you're seeing that kids are in gyms now because of those three, which is crazy. But that's where I decided to pick up on it. And no, I did not see at all it going to the level, especially just for me in general, but in the entire scene.
And that segues really well to my next question. One of the things I've always respected about you, and it's very tough, especially in the MMA space, is doing content that's not hate content. Do you know what I mean? Where it's like, there's a lot of negativity, and I watch your breakdowns and you're critical, but you do it in a way that's professional and it's not, you know, crossing the line. Is it tempting at all to go that route, or you just like I'm curious about that, because I'm sure there's stuff you do where like, if I went a little bit harder, I know I'd get more views. Like, does that ever cross your mind?
I mean, yeah, there have been times where I've gone hard. Like I can't even lie. There have been times, I remember, it's funny now because he and I have a pretty good relationship, but I used to really hammer Jake on stuff he did. And I thought it was warranted, you know, like whether he was like sparring someone that was untrained and, you know, really trying to go after the guy. And I didn't think that was very cool. So I went after him for that. And, you know, his same thing with his brother. I've gone after him for stuff and there's been some back and forth. And I can tell they definitely do better views wise, but there is a line that you know, if I do want to present myself professionally, if I do want to do this as a profession, whether it's as a journalist or just a broadcaster, commentator, I know that I can't just do the drama stuff. It's not me anyway. I don't like that. I do like to present a product that, yes, is informative and, like you said, critical, but also in a way that I feel can be constructive going forward. So it is tempting, but as I've gotten into this game further and further, I've realized that those kind of things are short-term gains for long-term issues.
When did you realize you could do this as a full-time job? When was that moment for you?
It's so crazy because I still always look at it as if, oh, you know, like this is still YouTube at the end of the day. And it flows like this. Like, do I want to do this as a full-time job, or do I want to stop this and go into commentary? But I remember the time specifically where I just went, okay, I've always been a guy that does things and kind of thinks about it later.
Right. Yeah.
I pull the trigger sometimes early on things, and it gives me that push to go, yeah, okay, you decided this is what you were going to do, so you got to go do it. You know what I mean? At the time where my channel really started to grow, I was working 2 jobs. I was working as a personal trainer for at-risk kids here in Orange County.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, so it was a super rewarding job, and I was also doing the video game company,
right,
that I was working at. Now, we were getting paid, you know, per hour to work on this company, but we had grown the channel from like 200 subscribers to 60,000 in about 6 months.
Okay.
And I started to see the back end of YouTube. I never really understood it, you know, and again, because I didn't have a channel that was very big, I didn't know the potential of what a big channel could actually do. And I started to see that channel grow. And mind you, I'm the main editor for it. So I'm seeing all the numbers. I'm seeing what the channel's revenue is. I'm seeing how, you know, how big it could potentially get. And I'm taking those same practices and putting them into my channel. And I'm starting to see my channel do this to their channel, you know,
right,
even with less subscribers or whatever. And then I started to realize, if I put the same amount of time, we were working like 35 hours a week at this channel. If I put the same amount of time into my own channel, how much could I grow? How much more could I do? You know, that's 5, 6, 7 hours a day that I'm not at home. What if I was at home using that time? Sure, it'll be a short-term hit, you know, for me, but it'll be a long-term success. So that was the first one to go. I axed that job. And then I think around the March time period of like 2022, I ended up, you know, I think it was 2022, maybe 2021. I don't remember. But I ended up deciding that it would be best if I went fully into YouTube because of, you know, the numbers that were coming in and also the ideas that I had, the commentary gigs that were coming up. I started to actually get some commentary jobs that I was going to have to leave California for. And, you know, unfortunately, doing the 5 days a week teaching the personal training classes, I wasn't going to be able to do it. Like, you couldn't just 2 weeks later ask for time. You know, most people with a 9 to 5, you can't just ask for that time off. So I just decided, okay, you know, now it's time to put the big boy pants on. You've decided this is what you want to do. And let's see. And it was scary because I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough to do this. And I just went, all right, let's see if I can do it. So.
And that's called imposter syndrome. I'm sure you're familiar with it, where you're like, am I really this good at that? I mean, it happens to a lot of people where you don't know how good you really are. Let me ask you this, like, honest question. Back when you were working on the YouTube channel, like, do you think if you weren't able to see sort of the Konami code, so to speak, from YouTube, seeing, you know, what was working, what wasn't, do you think you would have made that leap when you did, or do you think that you would have been a bit more strategic about it?
No, if I didn't, I mean, it's crazy when you look back at how life works. If I didn't get that job, I would have never understood YouTube at all because I was working with a guy that already had like 150,000 subscribers on his channel.
Yeah.
And without him knowing it, I was picking his brain every day. It's
Right.
like, oh, how did you do this? Well, okay. And I found out what his channel was and I started going through his channel. It had nothing to do with combat sports. It was like astrology or something, but it was a way for me to see what worked and how it worked. And then I started seeing the back end of the channel that we were doing working. So if I hadn't seen any of that stuff, then I probably wouldn't have convinced myself that I could do it.
Interesting.
Because I was seeing the results of what we were doing and I had a big impact on that. And I was like, well, let me just bet on myself,
You mentioned the commentary gigs. How quickly did that happen? Was that after you went full time or was it before? When did you get your first
It was right at that time. So my first commentary gig I actually couldn't do. It was that March, or I think March 2022 time period. I'd had ankle surgery about.
I remember your video where you were injured, like you had the issue, you couldn't fly, right? Because of your issue. Yeah.
So I ended up having an ankle surgery, torn Achilles, torn lateral ligament in my right foot. To this day has not come back 100%. I'm actually in the process of now refocusing and trying to take my rehab, more seriously. This YouTube thing's a gift and a curse, man. You sit for as long as I do, your body deteriorates. It's just part of this gig, and I've since put some more importance on that. But it wasn't the surgery that stopped me. I ended up getting a blood clot after the surgery.
Damn, that's right. Yeah.
From sitting and from some, I guess, potential genetic things that I didn't know at the time. I played sports for forever and had, sickle cell tests and stuff. Nothing ever came up, but apparently, maybe there was more there than, we tested for. Anyway, couldn't do that one. But the next one I got was about 2 months later at the University of Southern Florida for Creator Clash 1. James, it was 10,000 people sold out my first commentary gig.
That's awesome.
I was freaking out, dude.
Yeah.
I was freaking out so bad. I obviously won't ever do this again, but I was nervous, man. And I had never, ever done this outside of the live stream commentaries I would provide for fights and whatnot. But I took a high noon.
You got it. Take the edge off. Take the edge off.
I had to shotgun that mug about 30 minutes before we started. And it was me and my brother to this day, Face Sensei Us. It was the first time we'd ever worked together, first time we'd ever met. And another massive YouTuber, Charlie Moist Critical, on this goofy, influencer boxing thing. And I'd been around boxing and I'd been to events. That first fight is not, no one's there.
Mm-hmm.
There were 10,000 people there before the first fight started.
Wow.
Rocking.
Yeah.
So it was like you said, trial by fire right away.
Crazy. That's nuts. And I know, kind of on that note, we don't have to go into who it was or whatever, but I know you've had some challenges throughout your career as well, whether it's, payment and stuff like that. And I got to give you credit. You mentioned your partner in crime there that you do the breakdown with. Mm-hmm. I know you actually gave your purse to him, sort of purse. Yeah. I don't know what you'd call it, the payment and all that, which I thought was so cool of you. I mean, it just shows the type of guy you are. What have been some of the challenges that you've faced? How have you been able to overcome that? Because we all have it in industries. You've had it on a much larger scale, I think, than I have, but even I've had some issues in this industry.
Yeah, dude, it's tough. You don't want to talk about stuff like that because it's not what you sign up for. You sign up to be a part of something and to build and to provide a service. I mean, that's ultimately what I was supposed to be paid for, to provide a service. I don't care who's saying it. It was Kingpin Promotions, influencer boxing promotion. And I was just naive, to be honest with you. I never been offered that amount of money, and I don't care to say it. It was $25,000 per event,
which is nuts.
And
that's awesome.
To do commentary, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. But I was a little naive to think that was a reality. And working with people that I didn't necessarily know or know to trust, and again, just doing what I was raised to do. My family instilled in me, regardless of the agreement, you hold up your end, right? You sign your name to something, you say you're going to do it, then you better go do it. And you don't quit in the middle, and you don't look for ways out of it. And even when I knew there was some issues going on with me personally, I was like, I've committed myself to doing this. Issues will be worked out. I'm going to be a man of my word, a man of my I signed my name to this. I'm going to do it. And so obviously when that didn't happen, it was a little frustrating, but I'm lucky and blessed enough to have built a community very strong on my channels and things like that to be financially okay. And also, like I said, I also committed to bringing my brother with me, Face Sensei. So I had to honor my word again to him. Like it wasn't his choice to be a part of this thing right away. I introduced him to the people, and of course, from there he's his own man. But it was just that feeling that I get from making sure that my word is bond. That if I bring you into something, if I am a part of something, then I'm going to honor whatever it is I said I would do, and do right by you as well.
Yeah, and it's just it's good to see how you handled that whole thing. Again, a lot of people might have taken a different route there, but again, it's professionalism, and I think that's something that is where you are today. On that note as well, negativity. That's something we all get if you're a public-facing person. How do you deal with it? How do you deal with people who aren't a fan? And I'll follow that up with a second question. Has anything crossed the line? Ever gotten any threats or anything like that?
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. I've had, people calling my personal phone. Somehow that got out there.
Okay.
Messaging family, some pretty nasty stuff, but I hate to say it's what you sign up for, because no one signs up for that kind of harassment kind of stuff. But in the space that I'm in, it is, and this, MMA is the same way. Fans are very emotionally tied to people, to promotions, to whatever, it's fighters, whatever. So it's tough. I will say it's tough. Like I didn't grow up on the internet. So when you are defiant in the face of, let's be honest, what people look at as gods on this platform, then it is almost incomprehensible how much either support, because there was a time where there was a ton of support, and it overwhelmed me too. I was like, Jesus Christ, this is a lot of people. You know what I mean? But at the same time, on the other side, it's almost insurmountable to see how many people can, without really any reason, try to put your name in a place that doesn't describe you or doesn't represent the morals or values you hold, but just because you are defiant in the face of things that are not normally defiant, you get put in that position. But you find out ways to deal with it. Mostly for me, it's disconnecting from it. I get very tied to my character, and if it's questioned, I do feel the need to defend myself at all costs. What I'm realizing is that most of it isn't in good faith, and so there's no real reason to waste as much energy as I have for a very long time trying to reason with people that don't want to be reasoned with. So at this point, I try to disconnect from it and reevaluate. If there is constructive criticism, reevaluate what that is and how to just be a better content creator and, I guess, person moving forward.
Well, I just keep the rule of thumb. Like if it's someone I respect, like if you came to me and you said, hey, maybe you want to try something different or whatever. Not that you ever have, but I'm just saying that, like, I've seen your work. I respect your work. It would make more sense. I think a lot of these people are kids. I mean, that's kind of what I've discovered. It's people who, because you have a platform and they have a way to get at you, they want to tell you how things need to be. It's almost their way of bringing you down to their level. I've kind of like dissected it to like a psychological level just with the amount of stuff I get, but it's that's really what it boils down to, I think, because you're walking down the street, some kid's not going to come up to you and say something mean to you, right?
No. Right. So. And you know what? I should say this too. Like, I'm sure I get it, but what I've seen and what I now understand is whatever I've gotten, I can't imagine what some of the people at the highest level of
same here. Yeah.
Sports, whatever it is, industry, entertainment, and for my scene, the YouTube scene, what they get. So I count myself lucky in those cases, because those people are probably some of the most either resilient or mentally tough in the face of just probably pure debauchery that you could be. Because I get a fraction of it, but they get the whole pie. So,
you recently became a homeowner. I saw. Congratulations on that. Very big milestone. Is that right now the best thing you've achieved so far? I mean, kind of looking back on everything you've done.
Financially, yeah, this is the best achievement. I try not to measure. I mean, to be honest, there was a time in my life where I didn't think I would own anything. It was myself, my mother, and my brother out here on the West Coast just trying to figure it out, man. I remember I used to work at a restaurant, and I would take this thing right here every day, every 15-minute break I got, and I was just on Indeed looking. I got to get out of here, man. Looking. There's got to be something better than, every day. people don't realize I used to drive to Los Angeles every week on a Monday with about 100 resumes in my car and just suit on, go hand them out. Most uncomfortable stuff I'd ever done, but it was just, I felt I needed to. I would go slide them under doors, Fox Sports, Showtime, whatever, Hulu, don't care, right? So I knew there was something more. I didn't want to just be potential in my life. So when I bought the home, that felt like a big win. And I always used to talk to my mom about if I could just get one win, if I can get one win will lead to two, two to lead to three. And when I started to actually do that, it became easier to say, but I remember those days, man, where it wasn't. But I don't know, man. I think the house is, like I said, a great financial accomplishment. My biggest accomplishment, I feel like so far though, I don't know, man. I like to look at the Nate Diaz fight as just, that one was, bro. I watched Nate Diaz back in 2013, right? Like, to call his fight, to be on ESPN, to be on DAZN, to get this viral clip, and just it was one of the craziest things. And even then, I know I have so much more, but that probably has been my biggest professional accomplishment.
Cameo in the MMA Hour too. Ariel, I remember.
Yeah, and then
we're
with awesome. Ariel the fight week, man, and Ariel's such a nice guy too, man. So Ariel said some of the wisest words to me that I've been told in this industry, and it's been hard for me to grapple with, but he's been one of the most. Him, True Jordy, Vidal Riley, and obviously my brother Sensei have been some of the most honest people with me and kept me on a straight line. But Ariel said one of the most true things ever, and I don't know, how this will apply moving forward, but he says, Wade, in the scene you're in, you're needed, but you walk a fine line. Because I was always so frustrated with the Misfits deal and the falling out. And he goes, for you to be you, sometimes you're not a company man, and you're not going to be. And if you are as opinionated as you are, he goes, listen, I know the same thing. He's like, look, you can go down the memory lane with me. Mm-hmm. He's like, it's one of those things. And I've held on to that because he's right. For me to be honest and to be as transparent as I want to be, sometimes that's not going to line up. And it's a fine line to walk, but I'm doing my best with it.
What other MMA YouTube content do you watch? You mentioned my channel. We can get that out of the way. But
yeah, I'm curious,
come on now. You consume? What do you consume? I'm curious.
Oh, man. The thing with me is I don't consume a lot of other people like myself in the scene, right? Like I try not to, because again, you run into a fine line where you don't want to be either consciously or subconsciously enamored with what someone else is saying or doing to bleed into your own content, right? You want to, at least, for me, I want to be as transparent as possible, but I can recognize talent. That's another thing I feel like I've got a very good stronghold on, just like your channel is why, I'll tune into your channel when I see you on, I'm like, okay, James talented. I got to go check out what he's doing. But and you talked about, some of the popularity of MMA channels right now. Like I have no problem saying MMA Guru is one of the most talented YouTube channels right now. Like the guy he's talented as a creator, right? Like I don't care about the fight picks or the analysis and all that stuff. Like, yeah, I'm sure he's great at that, but that's not what I look at. I look at his entertainment value and the fact that he can keep people engaged. And that's what I look at. I'm like, okay, he's talented. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And a big rise too. I mean, that's one thing. Like you look at the numbers, Jesse on fire.
He's not even close to done, dude.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
He's not even close to done. So he's going to keep just soaring. But of course I watch Ariel. Who doesn't? You know what I'm saying? He is the standard. He's the OG. He is continued to reinvent himself. Now he's doing more in the boxing space. He's actually getting into commentary. Who saw that coming?
Yeah.
He's working with the WWE. He's doing NBA stuff. Like the guy is just uber talented. And another guy I watch is not necessarily MMA, but Pat McAfee. That's a guy. You want to talk about what I aspire to be? That's the guy.
Yeah.
He's it, right? He is everything I feel like even today, I feel a little bit inferior in. Like people think I'm a boxing and MMA guy. And those are sports I love. I played football for damn near 20 years.
Right.
You want to talk about where my knowledge base is, what I genuinely love? Of course I love those sports, but to get into football again, so Pat McAfee is like the standard for me.
Well, you got the sleeveless shirt, so you're happy.
Yes,
there,
bro.
right? So
Come on, we got
that's
to.
good.
We got
It's important. Any influencer boxers right now that are out there that you think are going to blow up, or anyone that you're keeping an eye on that maybe we aren't aware of? Because that's an area that I'm trying to educate myself on a little bit more, because I do see it still being a big thing.
It's tough, man. You have to have this happy marriage between non-influencer boxing stuff, a fan base there that just happens to coalesce with influencer boxing, and then you have to be good enough to make an impression on people outside of that space.
Yeah.
Jake, KSI, Logan have been the three that have had such a massive following, and then the balls to go, I'm going to go box. Don't need to. Worth millions of dollars. Who cares? And then go and do well.
Yeah.
At least for what they are. When I look at the rest of the scene, there are super talented guys in this scene now. Like we have really adopted a talent base that's growing, but it's not obviously like the amateurs or anything like that. I would say a guy like Dean the Great is definitely someone to keep on your radar. He's fantastic in the ring. He's got a great personality for what it is in influencer boxing. You know, you can promote him because he can talk and he can fight, undefeated. Yeah, man, it's tough because again, you have people, it's not a consistent basis. You have people come into the scene, then they're done, you know?
Yeah.
But the names that you're the usual suspects, like keep an eye on Jake. This guy is crazy enough to keep doing this sport, and he's delusional enough, and I mean that in the most respectful way, to believe he wants to be a world champion. I don't know if he'll ever get there, but the fact that his bar is that, who knows where he'll actually get to. Yeah. So, you know.
Do you think Jake ever fights MMA? Obviously, this is the deal with PFL. So you think he will?
Yeah, I think he does. I think he's, like I said, I think he's crazy. I think that Jake is so self-confident, much like the best guys on YouTube. This is why this marriage works so well. It's odd, but fighters and content creators have this delusional self-confidence that they're not realists. They don't care. Like they are the best of reaching to the furthest extent. And whatever they fall with is way past what anyone thought. Jake does have this wrestling background. Like you said, he's got the PFL Super Fight League that they're trying to launch, and he's a partner in. I have no doubt that they're just looking for the right guy for him. Obviously, you don't want to put him in there with somebody super skilled right away, but they're looking for the right guy for him. But I think he does. I think he fights it. And I mean, we're in 2024, early 24. I could probably see by the end of the year.
Okay. Bold prediction there. How will Francis Ngannou do against Anthony Joshua?
He's winning, James. He's winning that.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Listen, at the end of the day with Francis, I'm tired of saying what he can't do. Like, dude, I sat here and blatantly looked in this camera and believed it because I don't say things I don't believe. When, Tyson Fury is going to smash him because of course he is, right? It's the lineal champ, undefeated, best of this generation, 6'9", 290. Moves like a cruiserweight. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
He's so big. His chin is made of what they made Mount Rushmore out of. I don't know how he hasn't ever been rocked, but he's just built different. The guy swam across the sea to Europe multiple times because he wouldn't be denied. Do I think he's going to, boxing is difficult now? No, not at the heavyweight division. And now Joshua presents a little bit more of a problem than Tyson Fury did. He's a bit more volume heavy, which I think is very important when you fight Francis. You can't just sit with him in the pocket and wait. But I do think he's got a shot. Smart money is, of course, again, on AJ because Tyson Fury did technically beat Francis. But I think that doubting him and acting like this is a wash is a mistake. And I hope that Joshua doesn't do that because if that happens, he will get caught. He will get dropped, and this will be another one of those, oh my God, holy shit, how did Francis do that? So I would say 70-30.
I like the analysis. Let's do some rapid fire questions and wrap this up.
Let's go.
Who's your favorite athlete outside of combat sports?
LeBron James.
Favorite movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Favorite TV show?
The Office.
Favorite cheat meal? I'll use that. You look like you work out and stuff. You were playing soccer the other night, so I'm sure you're...
That's right. I eat pancakes and peanut butter.
Oh, great choice. Favorite comedian?
Bill Burr.
Favorite travel destination?
Take that back. Theo Vaughn.
Theo Vaughn. Okay, good choice. I thought. Side note: I saw Theo Vaughn one time. The only time I've ever seen Theo Vaughn, and he was high on mushrooms. And my wife is like, "Why did you take me to this?"
He's the man, dude.
And I find out later, Joey Diaz actually gave him the mushrooms. He did a
Of
podcast
course.
before that.
Of
So
course.
just a little
Of
side note on
course.
that. What's your favorite animal?
A dog.
What's your hidden talent, Wade?
I can sing a little bit, kind of.
Really? Okay.
Little
Okay. Won't get you to do that here. Maybe another time. And what's your biggest pet peeve?
I can't stand lazy.
Yeah.
If you're lazy and you have opportunity and you don't at least try, whether it's out of fear, whether it's out of a lack of initiative, I've seen that too much in my own life. Family members, friends, and a lot of relationships have failed because of that. If you are around me and you are lazy, it's not going to go well.
Best advice you can give someone that is looking to do what you're doing?
Well, one, work hard, but two, don't stop. Consistency is king. You eliminate, I found this out today, man. You eliminate so much of what you're afraid of by just continuing to do it. Everybody that's comfortable in what they're doing, unless you're sitting on 100 million, and even then, Conor McGregor shows you that comfort's nothing. You are always should be looking to get better at something. And that just is through consistency. Even when you don't have it figured out. I didn't know how to edit on YouTube. I still don't. I have the most basic edits ever. I didn't know how to do that. I didn't know if I was ever going to be anything with this commentary, but I still did it. It's walking by faith. It's consistency. And it's just believing in the dream, whatever it is that you have, that you're good enough to do it.
What is your ultimate career goal? Like if you could pick, because I know, again, you're always evolving, and you mentioned Pat McAfee. I got to think it's something close to that.
Yeah, bro. I hate to say I just want to be Pat McAfee, but man, the guy is doing WWE commentary. He is got his own show every single day with his buddies. You know what I'm saying? And no disrespect to the guys over there, but they are an extension of him.
Yeah.
I would love to host a sports show with all my friends and we just talk into our stuff, and I'm able to do that and then go call fights and then go call football games. And then he's living the life. For me, it's just to be in a position where I can do what I enjoy, which is commentating fights, football, pro wrestling, whatever. And honestly, one of my big goals, it's not even career. I want to be a dad, man.
Awesome.
I want to have a family. So that's like the secondary thing.
There you go. Wade, this was awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm really glad that we got to kind of share your story. And like I said, I think the work you're doing is incredible and the results speak for itself. So it's really cool that hopefully someone will learn something from this a bit today. Now, before we go, please plug anything you have. We've got the W.A.D.E Concept. You got the new pro wrestling channel too. Anything you want to mention, sir? I will give you the last word.
Yeah, listen, man, you guys know the W.A.D.E Concept. That's where I live. That's my main deal. Wade's World is where I'm going to be doing a lot of my in real life stuff. So playing soccer, going and getting my ass whipped by Le'Veon Bell today. That happened. Any of my stuff that I'm going to go do, it's like a Wade Does Sports. It'll be over there. And then, of course, What We Saying, pro wrestling channel, where I'm going to try to take a journey to become a pro wrestling commentator.